I'd want to have Jesus and Michael Jordan at the table. Welcome to the Far More Podcast. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Jason.
How are you?
Well, I mean, we just recorded an intense episode, so I'm still feeling the effects of that.
You know, that's what's interesting is this podcast, we've said it before jokingly, is like marriage conversations on a hot mic. And I think that's what is interesting when that takes place, or all of a sudden like, wait a second, what have we bumped into here?
Interesting is one word.
Lots of fun.
But I want to sort of, pivot.
Okay.
First, I do want to say hello to all of our listeners and those who are watching. Welcome. Like I said, we just finished recording a somewhat intense episode, but I want to pivot and turn things a little bit lighter.
I feel like you're giving me a hint.
I am saying that to you, Jason Brock, more than I am saying it to anyone else. Okay. But in previous episodes, I think it came up in the one on opposition will occur. Was that the episode where you talked about, we discussed the Lord building up this army around you? Was it that episode?
Yeah.
And I said, you possibly leading that army, and you're like, whoa, no.
Yeah.
And that's when that was the first time I got a little preachy at you, I spoke out of turn.
Do you know why I bristle when you talk about me leading something?
Because it's a lot of pressure.
Leadership is responsibility, right?
But you're so responsible. You're one of the most responsible people I know.
Leadership equals weight. Right? I think too many times people think leadership is a title or a position. It's not. It's not something you necessarily get promoted into. It's responsibility you assume. And so it comes with just a different weight. And I don't know that everybody looks at it the same way.
Well, maybe not. But it did get me to thinking about sort of your history of leadership in your life. And I wanted to have like a little Q&A. Is that okay with you?
A fun little Q&A?
A fun emphasis on fun.
Let's be fun. And I can be fun.
Okay, you can be fun.
I know, let's go.
I mean, it might be a little difficult given, the intensity of the last one, but let's give it a shot. So I got to thinking, I do believe you are a very good leader. Do you believe that leaders are made or leaders are born? Or is it a little bit of both?
Well, I think we're all gifted uniquely, but I think leadership is a skill that can be learned. Okay. So even if you don't have a, quote, natural giftedness necessarily, I think leadership is a skill. And for me, I think back, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, where I realized leadership was a skill, and I started studying leadership and following leaders I admired and consuming content and then applying it. So I wouldn't say that it's either like yes or no. It's something you can develop over time as a skill.
In the time that you and I have been married, I have seen you grow and develop as a leader. But one of the things I think that you have really, really gotten good at is seeing the potential in others and also kind of knowing how to use their strengths. Is that something that you studied? Is it a study in just people, or how did you hone that?
Well, I think growing in leadership also means you mess up a lot. Right? I think it's growing in experience and wisdom.
Is this the fail forward thing?
Right. It's you're gonna mess up. You're gonna hire the wrong people. You're gonna put the wrong people in positions. You're gonna realize that you have a team dynamic that doesn't work. And that's just things you learn over time of team dynamics, making sure you have the right people in the right places so they can be successful. Right? We talk a lot about having the right people on the bus analogies. what's also having not only the right people on the bus to get the job done, it's having them in the right seat on the bus as well. And so that's part of the leadership dynamic for me is the teams you create. Do the skill sets complement each other so they can go in a direction of growth, or is there a sea of sameness there, which means you could get stagnant in your growth?
So I've also talked about before how I think when you get the most frustrated with me, it's because you see this potential in me that either I don't see or I do see it, I just don't do anything about it. So, because let's call a spade a spade. I'm sure that happens in the workplace as well. So when that happens with somebody that you are leading, what is your approach to, I know it's going to be different because personalities are different. But let's just say you had someone with a personality kind of like mine. How would you approach them? How would you get them to see what you see so that they do step into their full potential?
Yeah.
Or have you figured that out yet?
I think delivering feedback is...
Oh, it's tricky.
It's an art and a science, right? And again, that goes in the bucket of you messed it up a lot.
Yeah.
But it's delivering feedback consistently. I think a lot of people early in their career of just being in manager mode is they think of review times or certain checkpoints to give feedback and coaching.
Those always made me so nervous.
Yeah, well, they made you nervous probably because you weren't actually getting the feedback and coaching in real time along the way. Like those checkpoints should never be a surprise conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it was like an every 90-day situation.
Right, but it shouldn't
But
be.
that was it.
It shouldn't be. I think that's the issue is when you're in a leadership role, I think of it as team sports. Mm-hmm. Okay? What if the 5 players on a basketball team only got feedback from the coach every 90 days?
They would probably lose every single game.
Well, these teams play almost every other night.
Yeah.
You're giving real-time feedback. Mm-hmm. And then think about the players on the court themselves. It's like, hey, go here, pick up this screen, do that. It's real-time in-game feedback. Mm-hmm. Hey, you missed that screen. You didn't box that guy out.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's getting those dynamics where you're giving more real-time feedback so you can see as the game is in motion.
So it's an ongoing conversation. It's not a one-off 4 times a year.
Correct. And then sometimes what do you have to do? You got to call a timeout. Like, hey, we've been trying to coach this thing. Mm-hmm. It ain't working. Let's call a timeout. Let's come over here. Deep breath. Yeah. All right. Now that we're taking a step back, can we see what's going on here? Mm-hmm. Can we see we've just gotten to a bad pattern of doing this thing or a bad habit of doing that?
Can you give me your top 3 go-to leaders that you look to for inspiration and as an example of kind of what you want to emulate?
Well, what I want my answer to be is Jesus, and Jesus. Mm-hmm. But I think about, I was in a leadership session a while ago and a lot of common icebreaker conversations of who would you want to have a conversation with or a lunch with or et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'd want to have Jesus and Michael Jordan at the table.
2 goats. Really?
But 2 very different angles.
Very different angles.
Because a lot of times...
Wow, could you imagine that meeting?
Right, because a lot of times I kind of want to be the Michael Jordan, not the Jesus. I'm like, listen...
Give me the ball,
or
I'll make it happen.
Or Paxson, I'm going to pass you the ball to win the game.
But you better make it.
If you don't make this shot, you're never going to see this ball again. Mm-hmm. Right? There's that part of my brain. There's also the part of just pass it to me and I'm about to just dunk on this fool.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that aspect. So really it's like, okay.
Oh, the juxtaposition of the two.
That's the tension in me always. But I think that is a picture of what I wrestle with.
Yeah.
Of what does it mean to lead on the court like that versus the 100% grace, 100% truth Jesus model, which is
seems so impossible.
It's really hard. Especially when your natural desire is
Michael Jordan.
Give me the ball and I'm about to win the championship.
I'm going to make this happen.
That's right.
Well, but with that is confidence, which you do need as a leader, correct?
You do. And I what's hard though, it's really hard for me. confidence and arrogance get confused, right? I am really good at...
there's a fine line between the two, yes?
Outwardly, you don't know the difference sometimes.
Okay.
It's an internal thing.
Okay.
For me,
it's a heart.
I deliver a lot of things with just confidence because I believe in what I'm doing. But because I'm so passionate or intense, it comes across as arrogance. And I'm like, that's not what I'm talking. I just believe in this vision.
Yeah.
Because in terms of believing in the vision, I also believe that leadership comes with a microphone. You have to be able to galvanize and inspire people.
Yeah. You have to be a good storyteller, which you 100% are.
So here's the thing we're going to do. This is why I believe in it. This is the vision we're casting, and here's how we're going to do it.
Since you've really given your life to Jesus, how has your leadership shifted and changed in light of being a believer?
Yeah. That's a hard question for me.
Okay.
Because I think in so many of my leadership roles, I still have to be such a driver of big goals, that I still, in a lot of spaces, come across harsh and intense, but it's because I'm driving a place of passion. And so unless you're, quote, in my inner circle, or we're having one-on-one conversations, you don't always know my heart, right? So I think what's gotten really good is if you're in my inner circle and we have a lot of deep one-on-one conversation, you see a big difference in terms of maturity. You get to peek behind the curtain. Right. If you just see the guy that's on a stage or in front of
like in a meeting,
a couple hundred people, or you're in a meeting where, for me, when you're in a meeting, that's game time. We're here.
You're on a stage.
We're here to solve a business problem.
Right.
Right. It's a business challenge. And I like to tackle business challenges directly. Not everyone does.
You like to challenge most things directly.
I like to go directly at things.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think what is harder for me is when what's needed is not a direct approach, but a approach that feels more political. Because I don't like solving things politically. I like solving things directly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's...
It seems easier to do it or quicker. It seems quicker to do it that way.
In my analytical brain, I'm like, can we just talk about logic and facts?
Right.
Not feelings and emotions.
Let's not tiptoe around the issue. Let's just get to it.
Let's park the feelings and emotions and just go with the thing. And that's not the case because we're talking about people here.
Yeah. And if you have any Liz's in the room, we're emotional beings.
Right. I can shatter you.
Yeah.
If I'm not careful. And I do that a lot unintentionally. Now, what I will say, it happened just this week. Somebody caught me at a really bad time.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I was really sharp and really short with them. But you know what? Like 10 minutes later, I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, let me just apologize. You caught me in a bad moment. I wasn't my best self. So I think recognizing those moments.
I think that's a great
and then
thing.
Cleaning them up is a win. I think being able to have those more deep, vulnerable conversations, even though it's more one-on-one for me right now, or in very small group settings, is a sign of maturity.
Do you think that is because of your deeper walk with the Lord?
It absolutely is.
The way you're handling things differently?
It absolutely is.
I think you're doing a great job. I know that it doesn't really matter that much what I think, but I do. I think that you are a great leader, and I know that there are people out there who are wanting to be leaders, but because they feel that in them. You know, I think every now and then I kind of get that, I think the Lord is calling me to lead this little group of people, and it's an awesome responsibility. Yeah. So for those out there who are in that same boat, can you give me just rapid fire? I know you like to process things, but can you give me rapid fire 3 things? Like if you could only leave them with 3 things to do or to books to read, people to listen to, what would be your 3 things?
I think I would tailor that. I'm not going to just go, here's a blanket 3 books, because I think it's going to depend on the person, the type of leadership, if they have a relationship with Jesus or not. They're just very different angles. But the one thing I would say, and it goes back to my original statement of it's a responsibility, it's 10x harder than what you think it is.
Uh-oh.
So whatever you think it is it's 10x harder than that.
So you're saying if somebody has this romantic idea of leading others, maybe pause and think about the awesome responsibility that comes with leading.
If you're thinking about the things you're going to get from leading versus realize the burden, the weight, and the responsibility of it, you're thinking about it the wrong way. Like
so perspective is everything.
You have to be called to this thing and know it's going to be hard and messy.
Okay, but you said that you do believe it's a skill that can be learned.
Right.
But then just now you said it was a calling.
Well, yeah, you're going to be, God calls us all the time and we don't have the skills to pull it off. Right. So that's what I mean.
True. Or sometimes we don't step up to the call. We don't answer the phone.
Look at the people he called all throughout the Bible. They didn't have the skills to pull the things off. So I think he calls and equips. And I'm just saying,
oh, thank goodness.
The equipping both come from the Lord, but there's also practical equipping that can happen as a skill set.
Okay. Well, I want to wrap this up with one more question.
Okay.
Do you believe, because we live in a day and age where if I hear the phrase work-life balance one more time, I might rip my ears off. But when I was thinking about sitting down with you and just doing this Q&A, for better or for worse, the phrase popped up into my head, work-life balance. Is it even a thing?
Well,
or is it some elusive idea?
I think anytime we talk about something being a balance, it's just not true. Because balance assumes 50-50. Things are never 50-50 in life.
Yeah.
You have different seasons, different needs. Like your family needs you more one season versus the next.
Your wife needs you more.
Your wife needs you more. Your obligations at work may need you more in a season. So I think I like to think in terms more of harmony, but
I like that. Synergy.
But even that looks different for people. I think part of it is you got to be really self-aware to know what harmony looks like for you.
Yeah.
Because it all is a choice. You can't have it all.
No, you can't.
We're the world tries to tell us we can. It tries to say you can have it all.
Maybe. Well, it's the world that came up with that phrase, I bet.
Correct.
Work-life balance.
You got to make some choices based on your life, your family, and how God's leading you.
Yeah.
And sometimes those choices are really, really hard, and there's trade-offs.
Well, you know what?
What's that, girl?
I'm thankful for your leadership. I'm thankful for the example that you are setting for our children, because I can see some little leadership qualities in really all three of our kids.
That's right.
But it's very different. It looks very different for each one of them, but I can see that. And as long as you and I, as long as we keep our eyes on Jesus, first and foremost, and keep God the center of everything, I think you are going to set an amazing example of what a godly leader looks like.
I got to work more on the godly leader part for sure, because
every day we all do.
But you know what makes leading easier for me?
Me.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Are you being serious?
100%.
Wait, why?
100%. Because
tell me more.
Because I know no matter what happens,
Tell me more.
I know you love me and you're supporting me and you're in my corner. And I also know you'll hold me accountable.
Yeah.
If I go too far left or right.
Oh, yeah, because you've told me stories before and I've been like, did you circle back and say you were sorry?
I can unpack things and you're like, dude, you were a complete jerk in that situation from my seat. I'm like, oh, I guess I better go fix that. Or
on the flip side, I do try to affirm you as well, because I think it's not an either or, it's a both and. I think we all need the constructive criticism as well as the affirmation. Both need to happen in harmony.
Right. So grateful for you. I'm able to do what I do because you are loving me and supporting me, not trying to compete with me.
No. And you know what? You know how at the end of the last few episodes, we have posed the question, or we've offered up, hey, if y'all want us to talk about something and unpack something on the podcast, please send us an email. Well, unfortunately, we've had one response, but we can't talk about that one because it's not something that we really know anything about with each other, because we were asked to talk about competition in marriage. And that's that's not our dynamic. I don't want to be in competition with you. I want to be working alongside you in all things. Not, I don't want to compete with you because that's ugly.
That doesn't work for us.
No, it doesn't work for us. Yeah. Well, thank you. Hey, thanks for sitting down and doing a Q&A with me. I hope that everyone out there who is in a leadership role, looking to be in a leadership role, I hope that you can glean a little bit of insight. And, you know, I'm going to talk off mic with Jason, and I know that he has a couple of resources that I can put in the show notes that you can read. And if you want a little bit more personalized advice from Jason, because y'all, he is an amazing leader and you're gifted and you have worked on your skill a lot, send us an email, farmorepodcast@gmail.com. And I think he'd be happy to answer some questions, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we're grateful for you. Please check us out on all things social: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I almost repeated Facebook again.
Sorry.
We're on there twice. We're grateful for you. We're so glad you're here. And until next time, lead others well.
Good word. Yes. Thank you.
Bye.